first off, tell everybody why you're in such a bad mood today.
I'm in a bad mood because we went to that sick-ass record store. It's my first time in Toronto. I've never been to a record store in Toronto. I've never even been to the city, and I haven't been to any record stores on this godforsaken tour yet. And I went to one, and I found a 1984 first press Japanese import of This Charming Man single by the Smiths. And instead, What We Believe, first pressing, and a first pressing of Exterminator by Primal Scream. And my credit card wouldn't work because I'm not in America, and I don't have any cash on me. It was all back in the bus. So by the time I got back here, I couldn't get back there in time to buy it. So fuck my life.
And you guys are in what, May tomorrow?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm not gonna find that again. That's the point of being.
All right, tell everybody who you are.
I'm Greg Gordon. I am a singer-songwriter from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
And how did you first get connected with Straight Edge?
I heard about Straight Edge just via being involved in like punk and hardcore. I grew up in a house where my dad listened to Black Flag, Minor Threat, Uniform Choice, Ill Repute, bands like that. So
I had a copy of Shape of Honky Tonk too.
He did, yeah. I think that was like one of the last like contemporary sort of hardcore releases that he like purchased on purpose. And so I just like grew up with that stuff in the house. So like Straight Edge was in my general field of knowledge. But it didn't become an attractive idea to me until probably like 05, 06, 07. Which is he wasn't, no.
I know a lot of people, they're like, you're straight edge until you're 18, just as a way to keep their kids off drugs.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, my dad wasn't straight edge or anything like that. But like I said, it was in like my general base of knowledge, but it became attractive to me, and I claimed at 17. And I think that it was hearing like youth group stuff that like got me into it, really. Like that made me feel like, oh, this is sick. Like Gorilla Biscuits and Youth of Today.
I was going to say, I don't remember youth group being very big in 05 or 06. Were there any like contemporary bands doing it?
Not like the youth crew stuff. Well, yeah, actually, yeah. Champion. Champion was a real big thing for me, because like at that time you could go to a website called HXC MP3. Yeah, and you could just download like a ton of bands. Just would have like 2 or 3 songs you could get, and actually like 2 big like contemporary bands that cued me into the fact that there were things going on besides like my local metalcore scene, which I went to those shows and I connected with those people, but I didn't connect with the music so much because I was like a street punk kid. So I wanted like at one point I did. Yeah, I did have a mohawk at one point, but so like I connected with the more punk stuff, and so then when I heard like Youth Crew and shit, it seemed like more rooted in punk, and it made sense to me. But then when I on it via HXC MP3, like I heard some contemporary straight edge bands like Casey Jones or like Throwdown or whatever, bands that were relevant at the time. But I also downloaded songs by Champion and Bane, and was like, oh, holy shit, this is crazy. And there's like a contemporary like hardcore scene that is connected to this other Youth Crew stuff that I've gotten into recently. Right. So those bands definitely cued me into the fact that there was like hardcore that was going on elsewhere in the world.
Have you seen Bane on the road yet?
I haven't. I've seen Bane a ton of times, and Parasitic. Yeah, dude, they're so good live. The band I play in, the hardcore band I play in, Parasitic Twins, like we played with Bane one time. It was awesome.
So did you perform for shit like that?
No, there used to be, but it was like more of a like Christian metalcore scene, because it was in the aughts when that was like a thing. Like Christian metalcore was ubiquitous. Like it permeated every like nook and cranny of every local scene.
Like Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, but that stuff wasn't like that, because it was like 03, 04, 05, so that it was more like Zao worship kind of stuff. Right. So that it wasn't terrible, you know what I mean? It wasn't like well performed, but it was like you could be anything way worse bands for sure, but it was like more in that vein, like Zao worship type of stuff for sure. So, and then there was like a hardcore scene that was a little bit more on the like heavier end of stuff, like 08 to like 2011. I was in a band called Parloff that was like kind of D-beat, kind of I Hate God worship, but straight edge. And
what do people find that? Still find it on MySpace?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a MySpace, but we have like a Bandcamp with our like 2 EPs that we did too, and like I was like 19, 20 when I was in that band. And then there was us, a band called Body Check, another band called Iceberg, like there is like a really good local scene, a band called Daisy Cutter, like a really great power violence band. They're all regional, you know, but after all of us, we all sort of like broke up around the same time. So after that, like the Fort Wayne scene, like it just kind of slowly dissolved. Like there are still shows, and we've been like trying really hard to reinvigorate it because we do an event there now called The Den, and it's like the guys that I'm in a band called the Wicker Wolves with, and me, and a guy named Robert Lugo, and a guy named Drew Taft. There's just like a big team of us, and we'll do like smaller local shows or shows for like smaller touring bands. But we also hosted some recent benefits shows for.
So you have your DIY thing.
Yeah, we have a smaller space for like smaller shows, and then we have an upstairs gymnasium with a stage that we built.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So should people get in touch with you if they're coming to the program?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You guys are what, an hour and 45 minutes outside of Indianapolis?
Yeah, we're like an hour 45 northeast of Indy.
So if people are playing shows in Indianapolis, they can also play shows in Portland.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Especially if you're a smaller band, you're gonna attract totally different kids.
Okay.
For a bigger show, like we wouldn't do both. But like we recently, the last show we did there was Biohazard, and then before that we did Strung Out, and then before that we did H2A. So those are like the bigger shows that we've done recently, and those are all benefit shows for a girl named Skylar who was like recently diagnosed with leukemia, and her dad Josh like contacted Robert, our sound guy, and one of the dudes who helps organize the promote, and like we all worked together and like made those shows happen. They were all just like cancer benefit shows. So, but we're gonna try and keep doing bigger shows there. It's just like I said, Fort Wayne. It just like realistically, it's not a big enough place or with a big enough scene right now to like sustain. Like we couldn't bring Terror through on a regular basis, unfortunately. Like we just don't have a community that's gonna be able to support that on a financial level. That's true. Yeah, they dropped off that tour. So. I feel that. I have a herniated disc. And as soon as my bandmates see this, they'll make fun of me because I always talk about my herniated disc and they don't think it's real. But they're also all 20 and they can fuck off. And they don't know what it's like to have chronic back injuries from having to do manual labor jobs. So whatever.
And do you think that you would be where you are now, at touring, and even having them venue?
I mean, realistically, no. I mean, my interests would have remained the same, but, like, just because I suffer from manic depression and because, like, very early on in my life, like, I started self-medicating with drugs and alcohol really heavily, like, I don't feel like I would have been able to gain the traction to get this sort of forward momentum that has allowed me to do this stuff if I hadn't discovered straight edge and, like, become attracted to that idea, because more than likely I just would have fallen like further into just like a bit of self-medication, you know, because like you gotta, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've lost friends to it. Like, I mean, I have friends who are straight up dead because of it, or, you know, slightly better scenario, I have friends that I don't talk to because they've alienated themselves from everyone that they've ever known and loved because of shit that they've done, like being addicted to heroin and stealing from people or whatever, you know. It's just like that, like, because of the communities I grew up in and like the social circles that I ran in, like that very easily could have been, you know. So I would say like straight edge is by far the best like personal decision that I ever made in my life, and I have the utmost confidence that I wouldn't be able to do this had I not maintained that lifestyle early on. Yeah.
So last question is from me, what should people be looking for?
I'm doing the fest in Gainesville, so that's like the last weekend of October, first weekend of November, crossover there. And I think myself and a band called Fire Vandals are going to tour down to it, hopefully. We're in the planning stages of that right now. So that's the next definite thing. And I don't know for sure after that, but I want to do some more touring, but I also want to chill for a while and make a little bit of money and pay off some student loans and like get ahead over the next year. So I might kind of calm down on touring after this winter, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I know over the next year, like I'm going to try to be really prolific as far as just output. Like I just want to like, I'm kind of tired of like the traditional format. Like I don't want to put out an EP and an LP in a year. Like I don't care about that anymore, and I don't care like go to big studios and like have a producer and all that stuff. Like that's great, and I would like to get around to that point and do something on that level eventually. But like honestly, like over the next year, I just want to like get a nice 4-track like cassette setup and just like set it out, you know, like just Lou Barlow my life out and just like record a bunch of lo-fi shit and put out splits and cassettes and 7-inches just with, you know, maybe like a bunch of different smaller labels or just self-released or whatever. Like, I kind of want to get things like back to a more like grassroots feel. Like being on the Warped Tour, if anything, like it's really shown me the shit that I don't want to do, and I don't want to be in this setting. I want to play with indie rock bands. I don't want to play in basements, and I want to release cassette tapes, and I don't want to sell shirts to kids. Like it's a privilege to be out here and play for like new kids. And Brian, who runs the Acoustic Basement, is the best. And like I wouldn't have done this if it weren't for Brian and like his stage, but like I'm definitely ready to just like put out some fucking indie rock cassette tapes. You know,
Cool.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, dog.